Hello again, this is Mike Hagan, and I'm here to talk to you about your business and your role as a manager in your business and the law. Uh, Businesses are established by laws of the state in which they operate, typically being a C Corp, S Corp, or an LLC. Regardless, they're subject to the laws of the state in which they operate. And further, other states, if they operate out of state or sell goods and services out of state or employ people out of state. But also, businesses are subject to the laws of the country in which they operate. And in our consideration, that's the U.S. and federal laws are going to be the primary area of focus for our discussion today. Any successful business is going to take the law into careful consideration and make sure that they are adhering to all the applicable laws and regulations that govern their business specifically and business operations in general. And as a new manager, your job is closely entwined with the myriad of laws and regulations that govern your business, especially when it comes to managing people. Let's talk a little bit about laws that affect hiring and employment of people in your business. First and foremost, the big one is the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits the unlawful discrimination against protected classes. You also need to make sure that you're taking into account the ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act, which prohibits discrimination against those with disabilities and lays out requirements for accommodations in the workplace. Finally, a couple of other important anti-discrimination laws that are on the books at the federal level are the Age Discrimination and Employment Act and the Immigration and Nationality Act, which was formerly known as the Immigration and Naturalization Act. Those are going to cover exactly what they say. Age discrimination in the workplace and employment are rules governing employing or evaluating whether or not someone meets the legal qualifications to work in the United States. Once you've hired an employee and you have them working, you're going to need to pay careful attention to the laws that govern their working conditions and their safety while at work. Also, fairly compensating them while they're at work. So to that end, you'll want to pay attention to the Fair Labor Standards Act, which covers working conditions, overtime rules, minimum wage, and more. Also child labor. And then the Occupational Safety and Health Act, which helps to ensure a safe work environment. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it's understandable. There are so many laws to pay attention to that it seems that a new manager would spend a lot of their time just figuring out if they're being compliant with the law. Well, that's where human resources can really come in and help you out as a manager. Human resources can act as a significant source of support for managers as they seek to comply with all of these laws that I've mentioned today and many, many more. They're trained to understand and implement the relevant rules and regulations that have been derived from the acts themselves. They also have poured a lot of time and energy into writing policies and procedures to ensure operational compliance with the law. And whenever you as a manager get into challenging situations, human resources and your human resource professional are there to act as consultants to guide you through those challenging situations. Finally, human resources can serve as support to decide when it's actually time to engage your company's either on-staff legal representation or your legal representation that you have on retainer. And most major corporations are going to have an in-house legal staff that they lean on heavily whenever they're facing any questions of the law as it relates to their operations. Recently, hiring remote workers has flourished, and with it, managers and human resource professionals have had to face a new set of challenges as they've sought to implement the law with respect to employing people remotely. One of the things that has really cropped up has been the diversity of employees in different states and those state laws. And while we haven't discussed state laws in particular today, just know that each state comes with its own set of particular laws. And as a business employs people remotely, they could have an overwhelming number of states that they have to contend with in terms of their laws and the strictures that are placed on employing those people. Just giving you a couple of specific examples for remote workers. All employees are required by the Fair Labor Standards Act to have an appropriate set of notices to promote fair wages, fair working conditions, et cetera, and employee awareness of those rules and their rights as employees. Well, if an employee is remote, how do you post those notices, for instance? The second one is states have different rules regarding privacy and who can be recorded and how. And if you're having WebExes or Zoom conference calls, frequently those are recorded. And are you violating the employee's rights whenever you're making those recordings? Just those two examples alone show you how difficult it can be to introduce something new like remote work into the existing policies and procedures of an organization. To wrap up, I just want to say that, just in today's conversation, you can see that the legal aspects of managing people can be really challenging, especially for new managers who have not encountered these situations before. But with your HR professional at your side and a strong set of well-designed policies and procedures to follow, you will be able to do well. Have a nice day, and I hope you found this video helpful and informative.